Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the show. This is Sports with Strawberry Ice. I'm your host, the Iceman, Jeff Trunapole. And as always, I bring you sports from a West Side point of view, right here in the great city of Cincinnati, Ohio, home of
Midwest Best, baby. They got Uno wings. They got G-Funk. They got CTB wings. They got delicious chili. Dude, it is awesome. Go check out Midwest Best.
I'm not kidding. I'm not saying that just because they're sponsoring my show. They are absolutely freaking delicious. We are doing a commercial there this Saturday between 2 and 4 o'clock. So if you guys want to show up, fill the restaurant up, and be part of a little commercial we're going to do here on the channel, I greatly appreciate it. What's up to everybody watching me on the live stream? I'm on ZTV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, X. I keep calling it Twitter, X. And then if you're listening on the podcast, what's up? You can check me out on BeanPod, Apple, iTunes, Spotify, Google, Stitcher Play, pretty much wherever you get your podcast. And as always, I'm coming to you live from this glorious place down here. It's the Ice Cave. And the Ice Cave is brought to you by T Properties. T Properties, quality housing for quality people. Check out the website at www.tpropertiesllc.com for all your rental property management needs and your rental needs. So if you got a house, apartment, or you're looking for any of those, or a condo, or you got a rental property you just don't want to manage anymore, give T Properties a shot, and they will take care of the rest. And you know it. We hit the jackpot when we drafted Joe Burrow. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but the NFL leaked this out, and I kind of put it out there a little quietly, but it's official. I mean, this is the NFL logo for next year. The Bengals are going to be in it. So you better be ready with your Jackpot Joey gear. You get the hats, the hoodies, the beer. It's delicious. The beer is at Brink Brewery. You get all the merchandise at jackpotjoey9.com. So make sure you are all bageled out in Jackpot Joey stuff and drinking some delicious beer. Remember, portions of the proceeds go to the Joe Burrow Foundation. What is up to everybody in the chat? Let me see. I get that off there first. We've got, oh man, you guys have blown it up already. I love Strangers in there. Robert's in there. Brad's in there. Robert's in there again. Rocket Bengal, Kevin, Tyrone, what up? Augie, my boy, is in there. And Jackpot Joey. Oh, he says new hats are coming soon. So make sure you check that out. All right, right before this show hits, it is official. Pitch is in as the Cincinnati Bengals offensive coordinator, which I don't think that's surprising at all. I think we all expected that. The next question is, who's going to be the next quarterback coach? For the man with all the information, he's from Pro Football Network. He is Dallas Robinson. Dallas, what's up, brother?
Jeff, how you doing, man? Yeah, it's great timing here that we get some news to talk about right before we're supposed to come on, right? It's amazing. We've had this continuity on this Bengals staff for what, 5-6 years now, and now we finally get all this news to talk about right before we come on. So it's great.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, I don't think any of us are shocked by it. I mean, that's what we all thought was going to happen. But I mean, they had to do, which I didn't realize this, but they had to do the Rooney Rule for the offense coordinator, and like you're just telling me off air, for the quarterbacks coach, which that's surprising. But I mean, you say it's probably going to be an in-house guy, most likely, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think that the assistant quarterbacks coach, Brad Thorp, is probably going to be the guy to be put into that role. Now, I don't know that for sure. I mean, so Brian Callahan needs a staff, right? He's on the Titans. He needs a full staff of guys. You see coaches go to teams all the time, and they'll take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys from their previous team. So maybe Brad Thorp has a role, it's a little elevated role on that Titan staff. We don't know, but I think if they want to go with an internal hire, I think he'd probably be the guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping that they don't let Pitch try to do both jobs, because anymore they have more coaches than they actually need. But I actually think when it comes to the quarterback, I really do think it's like a pitching coach in baseball. I really do think they need their own coach to help them just stay in line, stay with all the right stride and get the spin rate and everything else that goes in to being a quarterback right now. And for Joe, I think it'd be interesting to at least keep the continuity together, keep somebody he's worked with or knows.
Yeah, I would agree. And I don't think that's an option, that making Dan Pitcher do both those roles. I mean, those are both two really big roles on an NFL staff. Dan Pitcher, I know he's not going to call plays, but he's going to have his hands full game planning and strategizing and doing everything else that Brian Callahan was doing for these past 5 or 6 years. Yeah, I think Jay and I talked about this on our podcast this week about, would this be a time that Zach Taylor would say, we've got this continuity, we're having some turnover. Do we bring in some sort of outside voice, right? Whether that's a quarterback's coach, whether that's, you see teams hire guys with passing game coordinator titles, and there's all these different titles you can use to bring people in. And I don't know who that would be. We tossed out Eric Bieniemy, and there are tons of other names that are out there. And I do wonder if this could be a time when they would add somebody new. Jay did not think so. Jay thinks that it's going to be in-house. They want that continuity. They want the guys that have been here and have those relationships. I think that if there was ever a time to do it, this might be the time, but it sounds like they want to go with the guys that they kind of know.
Yeah, and I mean, Joe's even said that. I mean, I got this little clip here from press conference he did a little while ago, talking about how much he likes the coaching staff. So I'll try to play it here on my phone so I can hear it.
I think that's why we mesh so well in the meeting room and on the sideline. We have a great working relationship. And, really, I say this all the time, but I couldn't ask for a better group of coaches.
And that's the thing. He really likes the coaching staff. He meshes well with them. And the thing is, Callahan and Zach are really good friends. I mean, Jay was even talking about this, but he was on Trags' podcast, Joe War podcast, talking about when he was working at the Athletic, and he got to follow Zach and Callahan around at the Senior Bowl, I think it was.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, and they talk about how, they basically all went out to eat for drinks. He had nothing on the record and just hung out and BS'd. And he's like, they're legit friends. So, I mean, that is something that continuity right there is hard. I don't know if Zach Pitch had that same kind of relationship, but I think Pitch has been in the room. He's been a voice in the room with the offensive plans already.
Absolutely. And I think it would have been devastating to lose both Brian Callahan and Dan Pitcher in the same offseason. Just absolutely devastating, because you look at some team, Kyle Shanahan has done a wonderful job with losing coaches out in San Francisco, right? He loses guys every single offseason on both sides of the ball, does fine. But that's not every team. Look at the Eagles. Look what the Eagles are going through right now. Yeah. Both of their coaches took head coaching jobs. Nick Sirianni tries to bring in, guys who he thinks are going to be good replacements. Those guys are all gone. Nick Sirianni's almost losing his job. It's not every team can handle that the same. So I think to have lost both of those guys would have been absolutely devastating. Yeah, I don't know if Pitcher and Taylor have that relationship either. You're right that Callahan and Taylor are basically best friends. Right. It's kind of crazy to see them actually breaking up after all this time.
The bromance is over.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know. Pitcher was hired by Marvin Lewis. He's been here a long time. He wasn't hired by Zach Taylor. He's got a lot of experience. He's been the third down guy for this offense. He's got experience with analytical concepts back with Sam Francis, the Bengals analytical guy. He has a lot going for him. And it's not surprising that a lot of other teams around the league wanted to interview him to be their offensive coordinator. And, I think that was kind of the worry was, what does Dan Pitcher want? Does he want to call plays at a place he doesn't know with worse weapons and a worse quarterback? Or does he want to stay here, not call plays, but tether himself to a Joe Burrow offense with amazing weapons that is going to be successful? Clearly he went with the latter, right?
Right.
That was probably the right choice. If I were making that choice, it's what I would have done too. If his goal is to become a head coach, I don't think, you don't call plays. I don't think that's a big of a deal as maybe it was a few years ago.
Brian Callahan got a job and didn't call plays. And that's the thing too, is when, and like I said, I like to speak everything into existence. When we win the Super Bowl next year, Pitcher is going to he could be a head coach next year. That's how quickly this could happen. He can go from quarterback coach to OC to a head coach somewhere next year, because he's already, like I said, he already got interviews for OC job. He got him last year. He almost went to Tampa Bay. That's why the Bengals re-signed him and made sure that he didn't leave. So that's where I was surprised that they were interviewing other people, but then I found out they got the Rooney Rule, so they had to. And now the thing is some of these guys that they interviewed, they could interview them for maybe the quarterback coach position. I don't know. I'm just throwing that stuff out there because they do, like you're saying, they do have to interview people even for the quarterback coach position moving forward.
They do. Yep. The NFL changed those rules a few years ago. So it's, I think most people are probably familiar with the Rooney Rule that as applies to head coaches, and they've changed that so it applies to general managers and front office personnel. And it's gone down to coordinators and down to the quarterback coaching level, because a lot of head coaches come from the offensive side of the ball, as we all know, and most of those guys come up as quarterback coaches. So I think the NFL's goal is to say, hey, we want to make sure that candidates from underrepresented backgrounds at least get a chance in these rooms. And I think it makes a lot of sense. So you saw the Bengals interview Andy Dickerson, who is the Seahawks offensive line or assistant offensive line coach. Right. But he's worked with Zach Taylor. And it sucks. I think even talking about this aspect sucks, because Andy Dickerson, was he just checking a box? I don't think so. Andy Dickerson has done an amazing job as the Seattle offensive line coach. He's worked with Zach Taylor before, but unfortunately, I think that's how it gets reported in the media, and that's how it kind of gets viewed by some fans. Where is that should not be the case? I don't.
No, that's the bad thing with the rule is they have to do it. So you're like, are you actually doing it because you want to interview the guy, or are you doing it just because you have to do it? And there's no real way to tell. But this is a name. And I'm glad Paul put this out there. I would love this, and I've had him on the show a couple of times. He's a great dude. Kyle Caskey. I think he would be unbelievable to bring him back as on the Bengals coaching staff, so especially quarterback coach. I think that would be awesome. I have no idea if they're talking about or not, but I kind of put he's a friend of mine, so I'll put his name out there. Now Augie has a question, and this I haven't heard anything. Has Lou Dini, has he gotten any interviews for any head coaching positions? I haven't heard of any.
Not a single one, unfortunately. He has not gotten. I mean, there were plenty of jobs out there. There were eight teams that had jobs. Two of those, I think we know, the Patriots were going with Gerard Mayo the whole time, and the Raiders were heavily leaning towards Antonio Pierce. But still, 6 jobs, and I just wrote an article looking at how the head coaching candidate pools have expanded over the past 10 years. Mm-hmm. There were 4 teams this year that have interviewed at least 10 candidates. The Falcons and Chargers have interviewed 15 candidates each. And Lou Anarumo still can't get it. I don't know that it's that surprising. He's an older guy.
He's a defense coordinator. Everybody's going the younger offensive guys.
And the Bengals defense was the worst in the NFL, maybe. Yeah. I mean, by some metrics. I'm not saying that's Lou Anarumo's fault. I think that, a lot of us that watch the Bengals as closely as we do know that there were a lot of growing pains on this team, and that
safeties.
it was not all on him. Mm-hmm. But imagine you're an NFL owner of the, Washington Commanders or Carolina Panthers. Are you going to be able to tell your fan base that we're hiring the defensive coordinator from the defense that just finished 32nd in a lot of metrics? I don't think so. So unfortunately, that's what's happened. Hopefully the Bengals defense is a lot better next season. And at that point, I think Lou would be back in the mix. He was close to the Cardinals job last year. I think he's probably still on like the long lists for these teams. Maybe just didn't make the cut this year.
Now, Tyrone here, I knew this was going to come up. Zach has to let the OC be involved at some point in there. He's not a great play caller. Like I said, I don't think Zach's going to give up play calling. I mean, like he said, that Pitch and Callahan were all involved in the play plan, I guess. Yeah. There's a better way to say that, of what they're going to do if this happens or if that happens or whatever. And like according to your buddy, my buddy, Jay Morrison, that's our thing. He said that Zach and Callahan would do the night before is they would play, fantasy football. Like, all right, it's 3rd and 7, and you got the ball on the 10-yard line. What are you going to call? All right, you did that. You gained 2 yards. All right, now what are you going to call? And they go back, they bounce back and forth about that. So whenever he says that Callahan didn't make any calls, that's not necessarily true. I mean, they went through the scenarios in their head the night before. And like I said, Zach did let him call some of them. I think Skinny was telling me this yesterday, Richard Skinner. Like in some of the preseason games. Yeah, I know it's preseason, but he still did let him do it. But that's the thing that everybody puts such a big emphasis on the play call, which it is. And I don't get this, Dallas, where we'll find out how Callahan does this year. Maybe he's a great play caller. I have no idea because he's never done it before. Pitch hasn't done it before. Zach has at least done it for the last 5 years. And I find it hard to believe that, screw it. Let's let Pitch do it. He's never done it before, but by God, he's got to be better than Zach Taylor. I don't buy that.
No, and I don't think that's going to happen. Zach Taylor is not giving away play calling responsibilities anytime soon. I mean, I don't think that Zach Taylor is a bad play caller by any means. I think, but what you're right about is that this isn't Madden, right? This isn't like they're not just picking one play after the other and just randomly. This is all football is so situational, and there is so much planning that goes into. Okay, you're right, down in distance at this point in the game, in this situation, what do we do? Where, is Zach Taylor making the final decision on what specific play is or what direction this run is going to? Yeah, he might be, but I'm sure it's a group effort that they all put time and energy into throughout the week. So. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that people put such a premium on play calling. Like you look at Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel did not call plays for the San Francisco 49ers during his entire tenure there.
Yep.
He went to Miami in his calling plays, and the Miami Dolphins put up 70 points last year in a game.
Right.
So I don't think it's necessarily, he's never actually called in the actual play. He can never do this because this is all a collaborative effort, right? And I think you see that on the Bengals staff, maybe even more than other staffs around the league. It's like this isn't just one individual making decisions. This is a group effort that we're all kind of coming together on.
Yeah, I think what we're going to see more is when we have a healthy Joe Burrow. And I think that was the plan this year. He just wasn't healthy, for a good portion of the season, was to go under center more. Because I keep going back I think the best plan that they had against a very good defense was against the Sucky Niners. When they played out in San Francisco, they had no clue if we were running it or throwing it or anything. That was the best offensive plan we had all year. Now, there were games that after that I'm going, why didn't we just stick with what we had? I can't answer that. So I don't know. So I'm not saying Zach Taylor's a great play caller, but he's been doing it, and I'd rather have him do it than, I'd rather stick with the guy I know than the guy I don't know, if that makes sense. And good.
No, I agree. And I agree with the under center stuff too. And I think that is something that they'll probably try to implement more next year. And I don't know that Burrow likes doing it that much, obviously. And there are quarterbacks who don't like turning their back to the defense, but there are so many advantages to playing under center. Helps the run game, because think about when you're in shotgun, you could, for the most part, really only run one way. You know which way the handoff is going to go for the most part. You don't have that when you're under center. There's so much research that shows you don't have to be actually good at running the ball for play action to work. I think we know that by now, that even the fakes and the hint of a running game is enough for play action to work. But marrying all the concepts together and making sure that, okay, when we're running, it looks the same as it does on play action. That's much easier to do, I think, under center than it is from the shotgun game.
Right.
So I think that'll be something they try to work in more next year. No question.
Now, Paul Painter here says the AFC is a smash mouth division, which no trip plays, which I agree with you. And this is what I like to point this out. This is also the same offense of team that won the AFC North back-to-back years. So, and we won more playoff games than anybody else in the last couple of years in the AFC. I know the Ravens have won one. Mm-hmm. They won one this year, which I get. And they might win two. I think they're going to beat the Chiefs. And that's not Chiefs hate. I just honestly believe that the Ravens are playing that good that they're going to be hard to beat. And it's not only the way Lamar Jackson played, it's that defense. That defense, dude, that Dallas, I thought for sure that the Ravens would be a little rusty because they hadn't played. They had a whole week off the week before. The last week of the season, they didn't play their starters. So their starters hadn't played in 2 weeks. So I'm like, I think they're going to at least start off a little rusty. Maybe the Texans can get ahead of them. But boy, was I wrong.
It was 10-10 at halftime. I mean, it was relatively close. And the Ravens just absolutely exploded in the fourth.
They couldn't.
Second half.
Texas could not run the ball to save their life. I mean, it wasn't even close.
All season they couldn't.
Right. They had like -1 yard, I think, in the first half. It was just ridiculous.
And yet they kept running on 1st and 10 like every series. I don't know what that was. But the thing that we were talking about this the other day on our show is that Mike McDonald, the Ravens defensive coordinator, might have done the best job of any coordinator in the NFL this year. I think just what he's done with that defense. I mean, they led the league in sacks with Jadeveon Clowney as their number 1 pass rusher. I mean, that's not easy to do.
And they signed him late. People didn't want him. It wasn't like, he was still the number 1 pick overall. He was a late signing.
But I don't know if Mike McDonald is going to get a head coaching job. I'm not sure.
He's a guy. Nobody wants defensive guys.
No, I had pegged him to Tennessee, but that's obviously not going to happen. I mean, you think Belichick's going to Atlanta and Harbaugh to the Chargers. Space is running out. I think for Bengals fans, that's horrible news because that means Mike McDonald's going to be back in Baltimore for another year. Nobody who wants the Bengals to win wants that. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there with McDonald.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't know. Maybe I'm just all right. Maybe I got the orange colored sunglasses. So yeah, I got to put these on when I say this here. But I'm not scared of anybody. I think if we fix that defensive line, and that's to me, that's our biggest thing. Fix the defensive interior line. Mm-hmm. Get another veteran to help at safety. I mean, Dax Hill and Battle with a full year under their belt of playing safety. I think they're going to get better. I just have a feeling that I'm not saying we're going to dominate or anything like that, but I got a feeling we're going to be back. Joe Burrow's going to be healthy, and we're going to win this thing. Because look, when Joe Burrow's last pass was against the Ratbirds to take the lead. I mean, it wasn't like when Joe was in there, it wasn't like they were kicking her ass. So that's where I'm like, yeah, they played great, but I don't believe that we're that far off. I mean, I just injuries were a big thing this year. That's just, I don't like so. Maybe I'm looking at things through orange-colored sunglasses. I don't know.
No, I don't think so at all. I think that, obviously the season was disappointing, but the Bengals did a lot of good stuff even after Joe Burrow went down. I mean, Jake Browning was so impressive. And I think, we're talking about Brian Callahan here. I wonder if Joe Burrow had stayed healthy all year, obviously if the production had been better, then Brian Callahan would have been in the mix. But I really do think that his work with Jake Browning might have gotten him this job. I think that was maybe more impressive than working with an elite guy like Burrow. I have no doubt that the Bengals are going to be right back in the mix next year. I really don't. And that's kind of why, looking ahead towards free agency, people talking about T. Higgins, I think there's no chance they'll let T. Higgins get out. The franchise tag is a guarantee at this point.
Worst case, they tag him, they trade him, and I don't even think they're going to do that.
Yeah, maybe they'll trade him to Tennessee. Give him to Cal. The Titans have the 38th pick in the second round, so is that a fair trade? I don't know.
I don't know, maybe. I don't know. See that. I just hate trade. I don't want to trade T. I want to keep him. I don't even want to think about that, to be honest.
I don't think you can trade him either because I think, as we're just talking about, I think 2024 is like the season. You've got, Jamar Chase is still relatively cheap. Joe Burrow's cap hit is not going to be where it's going to be in future years. This is kind of I'm not saying it's the last chance. Joe Burrow, obviously, he talks about the championship window being his entire career. That's correct when you have an elite quarterback. But
the logo's already been printed. Don't you see it? I mean, it got leaked out.
It's already out amazing. There. Yeah, you're buying this whole Super Bowl logo conspiracy then, Jeff? You're in
I don't know if I buy it, but I'm definitely fueling it. I'll tell you that for sure. I'm definitely stirring a pot on it. Social media, I'm kind of a pot stirrer. I kind of like stirring stuff up.
I love it.
I think it's funny. Let me get to. Robert brings up a good thing here. The Bengals should sign Chase Young. Is Chase Young? Is he a free? Did the 49ers not sign the guy? No. Sweat got re-signed by the Bears when they traded him, but Chase Young's not signed.
Chase Young is not signed. He will be a free agent.
There you
go. They could franchise tag him. San Francisco could. Sure. I don't think that's an op. They're already paying Nick Bosa, I think, like $34.5 million a year. So I don't foresee that happening. I don't know if Chase Young would be a fit here. I mean, I think the Bengals are pretty set at defensive end going in the next year.
They need interior guys. That's what they need. It's not. And the thing that's the thing is we get because our run defense was terrible. And I love DJ Reader, and when he was in there, it was better.
Yeah.
But when he was out, it was awful. But it still wasn't great. I mean, BJ Hill needs to have less snaps. We need backup guys. And DJ Reader, we don't know when or if he's even coming back with his quad injury. So you got to replace DJ because I don't think he's going to be ready for the beginning of the season. And if he does, how's he going to be? It's not a guy that you can rely on. So that's a big thing for me to replace in the draft right there.
I mean, we don't even know if DJ Reader is going to re-sign with the Bengals, right? Yeah. I mean, even if he is healthy, he could go somewhere else. Yeah, I think defensive tackles is a position group they're going to have to address, whether that's free agency, whether that's an early round draft pick. I think you have to because, you can hope that somebody like Zach Carter steps up next year, but hope is not really a plan, I think. And you can't go into what we just said should be a Super Bowl contending season with a guy, and no disrespect to Zach Carter, but he just hasn't done it. You can't really go into a season with a guy like Zach Carter as a starting defensive tackle on a championship caliber team, I don't think. So whether that's free agency, and there are some guys out there, but DJ Reader, again, I hate to say it for him, but maybe the fact that he got injured allows him to come back to Cincinnati, whereas I think he would have had an outstanding market had he remained healthy. I mean, there are not that many guys like him in the NFL, I think. Maybe now that he's kind of coming off that, what was, sorry to say, a brutal injury, maybe he could come back on a 1-year deal. I don't know. I have no idea where his mindset is on that or anything, but they're going to need some help in the middle of that defensive line. There's no question about it.
So are you on the mindset? Because I keep blaming Mike Petrago because he's the one that said it on my show. Chris Jones, do you think he's going to be a Bengal?
No, I certainly do not think Chris Jones will be a Bengal.
Come on!
What do we think Chris Jones is going to get this year? 30 million a year?
He's going to take a discount to come here. Don't you know, Dallas?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that'll happen. Yeah, that'd be great.
I keep dreaming. I said, look, this is the perfect scenario. We re-signed Jonah Williams. We signed Chris Jones. We draft Blake Bortles and we go out and get some defensive tackles. So like, there you go.
I love
Perfect.
it. You should be the GM. Why do we need Duke Tobin? You should.
Yeah, I know. Like, dude, just call me, man. I'll hook you up. But speaking of Jonah Williams, I like asking people this because I think keeping Jonah Williams is a must. Now, because we don't have anybody, and because we got to fix the interior line, defensive line already. It's hard to get, or we have not done a very good job of getting offensive linemen, especially tackles in the draft. There's a less likelihood of one of those right tackles being there at 18. You probably get a better shot at getting one of the defensive guys. And for me, Dallas, is if you have, I said this on every show, if you have the same 5 guys back-to-back years, that's just going to improve your offensive line there anyway, just from them playing back-to-back years in the same position. So that's where I am a big Jonah Williams guy.
I don't disagree with any of that, but I think he'll be too in demand around the NFL. You cannot find competent starting caliber offensive tackles in free agency. It rarely happens. Jonah Williams is not an all-pro. Jonah Williams is not a pro bowler, but he can play left tackle. He can play right tackle at a solid to average level.
That's what I keep telling everybody.
You know what that's worth in free agency? That's worth
70 million?
15, 16 a year. Yeah, 16 million a year. And I don't think the Bengals are going to pay that, having already paid a lot to Orlando Brown, and they're paying Alex Kappa and paying Ted Karras. I don't think that'll happen. Right tackle, I think it's a position where you can probably find guys on the cheap. So look at the Houston Texans. They signed a guy named George Fant, who's in his 30s, longtime NFL player. They signed him for $3 million. They had a lot of injuries. He ended up starting at right tackle almost the entire season, and he was perfectly fine. I think you can find guys like that almost every offseason. I wouldn't probably stop there. I'd probably try and add somebody, whether that's first or second round. Yeah. But I just don't think Jonah Williams is going to come back. I actually think Jonah Williams might end up with the Titans in it because
I can see that. Yeah.
They have the NFL's worst offensive line, and I don't think
it's a lot of money too.
A lot of money. Maybe they'll bring the Bill Callahan down from Cleveland. You could add Jonah Williams, start to get a little work done there on that offensive line. But I don't think he'll come back to Cincinnati. I don't disagree that it would be a good idea to keep those 5 guys together if they could. I just don't see how it's going to be possible.
Yeah, it just stinks that every year, we always got to work on the offensive line. I would like to not have to worry about that one off season. That'd be great. But like I said, I do agree. I think you can get somebody, which they're going to have to. The right tackle, if you don't resign Jonah Williams, the right tackle is not on this roster right now. He's coming from either somewhere else or the draft. I mean, that's just the bottom line.
100%. Yeah, I don't think there's any. Could you start Cody Ford at right tackle if you re-sign him? I guess, but that's not where you want to be.
I'm not sold on that.
I think Cody Ford will be back because I think the Bengals coaching staff really likes him as a kind of versatile
guard, though. I think. I know they play like tackle.
He plays. Yeah, he's played tackle too. He came in for a few snaps for Orlando Brown this year.
Yeah,
but
I know. I was shocked. I was at the game going, "Oh crap!"
Oh, you're at that one.
Yeah.
So I think he'll be back, but he's not a starting caliber guy. I don't think you'd feel good about him. You're nothing against Cody Ford, but if you're starting him at right tackle, that you're basically back to the Hakeem Adeniji days.
Which I don't want to do.
You don't want to be back in that area. No.
I don't. Who invited you on my show, Dallas?
I'm getting you all riled up.
I know. What's up with that? All right. Augie here says, speaking of the draft, Dallas, who do you see us targeting for O-line?
Oh, man. I'm the wrong person to ask on the draft at this point. Here's what I'll tell you to do. Go to Pro Football Network and read Ian Cummings and Ollie Hodgkinson and all our great NFL draft writers. They do amazing work. Actually, Ian was on just on a Bengals podcast. I can't remember which one a couple of days ago, talking about all the Bengals prospects that they could target. I know there are some good offensive tackle prospects in this draft. I do know that for sure, but I am not a draft expert. I'm the guy who kind of comes to it late once free agency is over and all that, and I'll get into the guys before the draft. But I'm the wrong person to ask at this point.
Do me a favor, send me that guy's info, and I would love to get him on too.
For sure, yeah, absolutely.
I'm always looking for draft guys, especially of what the Bengals might do. Because Dallas, for me, I look at the draft right now, but I really don't. I'll look at the guys and all that stuff, but you really aren't going to know what the Bengals are probably going to do till after free agency. That's what I keep saying. That's because last year I was like, oh, we got to draft Juwan Jones, which I still kind of wish they would have drafted him.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
Yeah, at right tackle. But then they signed Orlando Brown, And so that extended that, and that's why we got Myles Murphy. What's your thoughts on Myles Murphy? He wasn't as big of an impact as people think a first round pick should be. I think he did okay. I think he's going to have a bigger impact next year. Now, I say that thinking Joseph Osai was going to have a really big impact this year, and he can barely get on the field.
Yeah, I think Myles Murphy. So it's easy to say, a first round pick should have had 10 sacks or whatever. But Myles Murphy was a back end first round pick. It wasn't like he was the third overall pick. So I think Myles Murphy had I think he had a good season. I wouldn't say it was great by any means. He flashed. I think he had several games where he showed up and had some good plays. But yeah, I think the Bengals will definitely be counting on him more next year, because I think they're hoping that maybe Sam Hubbard can kind of reduce his snaps a little bit. Trey Hendrickson, I don't think is going to be leaving the field anytime soon, but maybe if you could have Myles Murphy take on more of those obvious passing downs and let Sam Hubbard maybe handle the rundowns, I think that's probably where they want to go. And we've seen this with Bengals defensive players in the past, right? That it takes them a year before they really kind of get into the system. It's a good point about Joseph Osai, though, because I'm not sure if there was a guy on this roster who I had actually higher hopes for heading into last season in terms of just like the growth, right? Of what, and we knew he wasn't going to be a starter, but would he get essentially?
He didn't need to be. It was stuff off snaps off Sam and off Trey.
Totally. And whether that was the high ankle sprain at the end of the preseason or what exactly happened here, I don't know, but he played so few snaps that it's crazy. I don't know. I don't know where kind of he is in the Bengals' minds. I mean, he's entering his last year of his rookie contract. He's got a lot on the line, but I think he's clearly behind Myles Murphy. He's clearly behind Cam Sample. Yep. So
they got more snaps than he did. I mean, there's games where he'd have maybe 2 or 3 snaps, and that was it. Which and Richard Skinner was on here again yesterday, and he said they asked Lou about that, and he just kept saying he's injured. I'm like, he wasn't injured all year.
I mean, high ankle sprains do linger, but not for, that long. Not for 18 weeks. Exactly. Not generally. So yeah, it's curious.
Yeah, so I don't know. Augie says maybe that late hit made him gun shy. It was something, dude. I don't know, because he was a freaking monster in the AFC Championship game. He was an absolute monster. I don't know if you caught it. Was it on NFL Network or maybe it was on CBS when the Bills Steelers game got moved? Oh yeah, they were replaying the game. No, trust me, all the Chiefs fans were letting me know. But yeah, that's what I noticed too. I was like, oh my god, Osai was so good in that game before the end. It was just what a terrible ending. No, yeah, well, that and I just kept watching the late hit on Joe Burrow. They didn't call, and this is what I forgot about is and I've said this on every day this week on the show, but. The play before the interception, that T. Higgins, where they popped the ball up the air and it's supposed to go to T and they intercepted. The play before that, that's where Joe Burrow threw the ball and hit Jamar Chase in the helmet. Oh. Well, if you look at that play, he couldn't catch the ball because the quarterback is holding his arms. I'm like, that's why he couldn't catch the ball. I'm like, and then the very next play, oh, what a great play. I'm like, yeah, because your pass interfered us the play before. I'm like, oh. I hate to be that guy, and I don't think it's just me, but obvious. Officiating is at an all-time low right now. I have never been the person who's blame the refs, and I tend to think it all comes out in the wash. But man, it's on full display during these playoff games. These past couple of weeks, it's not just getting the plays wrong. It's operational stuff. There's these huge delays where it's no one knows what's going on. I cannot remember NFL officiating being this disorganized. I think it's hard to watch. Well, that's where I've said this before, and I don't understand why they don't do this. The NFL is the biggest business in America, but they're the only one that does. I think the only one that does not have full-time refs. Why in the hell don't they have dude? You should make this your job and your livelihood, and if you suck at it, then you're out, or they're going to move you back to college or something. I mean, there's got to be some kind of fines or something. Some sort of evaluation process. It doesn't seem like it's going on. Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy, the NFL officiating situation. You should be training these guys all year to, and not just to learn the flags, but to learn more about actual football strategy, because it's clear that the refs don't get some of that stuff too. They'll call, and maybe it's as to how the rule book is, but how many times do you see a clear miscommunication between a quarterback and a receiver and they'll call intentional grounding? Yeah. And I guess you have to by the letter of the law, the letter of the rule book, but
man, you would think that you could understand that that's clearly not the spirit of the law and maybe let that slide. I don't know. I got very fed up with officiating this year. It's for the first time in a long time. I think I let it get to me that these refs are just not doing a good job. So yeah, I totally get where you're coming from.
I remember the Jake Browning got the intentional grounding in the Chiefs game.
Yep.
Joe Mixon's right there. That's who he's throwing the ball to. I mean, yeah, he's trying to get rid of the ball. No duh. But he threw it and Mixon's over there. And the way the camera angle was on TV, it looked like there's nobody there. I'm like, no, Mixon is literally right there.
Yeah.
Like, that's who he's throwing it to. I'm like, and the thing is, what drives me nuts is, like, if you get outside the pocket and you pass the line of scrimmage or whatever it is, and you can just chuck it right out. But that's not but you're literally not throwing it to anybody.
Right.
But you're allowed to do that.
Right.
But if you throw it and you're not within 10 feet or whatever of your target, but there's a guy over there that you were throwing to, but you're getting tackled and trying to get rid of the ball. Oh, that's intentional grounding. No, he's throwing it to that guy. He just couldn't get it because this dude's hitting him. Like,
don't even get me started on the fact that we're still using chains to measure first downs and letting, you've got 10 250-pound guys collapsing on a ball, and this ref comes in from the side and puts the ball down like that. Yeah, that's where it was. Like he knows. Like the fact that we're not using GPSs in this stuff at this point is
put a computer chip
insane
in the ball
to
and on the field, bam, that's where it is.
It's crazy. I hope this will change sometime soon. It feels like we're living in the dark ages in this one specific aspect. I don't get it. Yeah.
I mean, I think, and the reviews, I think they're getting better, but there's still sometimes I'm like, what is taking? It still takes too long. I'm like, you can freaking see the guys in or out or whatever. Like, what? I can see it. And I mean, this is for me watching games that I don't give a crap about. I'm going, what? Come on, let's go.
I know.
What is taking so long?
Speed things up a little bit. Yeah.
Right. One thing I liked what the XFL did last year, where they had everything transparent, where you could see the guy, you could hear the guy talking in the booth, you could hear him talking to the officials. And so there was nobody knew and nobody wondered what was going on. You could actually hear the conversation. I'm like, I thought that's pretty good. Like, open it up. Like, what do you got to hide? Does
the NFL strike you as a transparent league, Jeff?
No,
I don't know that I don't know that they're too interested in letting us see behind the curtain. Honestly, it doesn't seem like something Roger Goodell would be pushing for.
No, Roger Goodell doesn't want us to know he's an actual Chiefs fan either. So that's why he was hugging him and everything. Anyway. I had the whole can of worms I can get in there. All right, next question I got for you. Bengals off-season move. We talked about the defensive line. We talked about the offensive line. People in the chat here are asking about Tyler Boyd. I don't think he's coming back. My buddy Bengals captain said that he thinks he could. There's people thinking he's going to go to Pittsburgh because that's his hometown team. Now, I go back to he could come back because literally Chase, Higgins, and Boyd were on vacation with each other last week. They might still be on vacation. I don't know. But they legit love hanging out with each other. And if Tyler Boyd doesn't get like the big bag from somebody else, he could say, all right, Bengals, what are you going to offer me? I'll come back for that. I could see that. I would be kind of surprised, but I could see that. What's your thoughts?
It's possible. I mean, anything's possible, right? I mean, we don't know. Tyler Boyd is getting up there. He's a slot-only receiver. I honestly don't know what his market is going to be. I really don't. I'm not sure how other teams around the league are going to view him. Could he come back to the Bengals? Possibly, but like you said, I think his market would really have to fall apart. I think you're talking probably like a 1-year deal. Right. I don't know. I don't even know what the Bengals would be comfortable with, $6-7 million or something, because they've got Charlie Jones and they've got Andre Yoshivas, and I'm not saying that those guys are just like ready to step in immediately.
They got Trent Irwin too.
Yeah, he's a free agent too, so I don't know if he'll be back either. I don't know.
My boy Trenton's coming back. I got a feeling he's coming back.
You think so? I was actually wondering, like, will one of these guys go to Tennessee with Callahan to kind of help teach the offense to younger guys and say this is how we do things in Cincinnati. This is how we turned around our franchise. I don't know. I'd be surprised if Boyd came back. I do think he'll probably find somewhere else where he could not only get a better deal, but get a better opportunity. He's always going to be third here, or at least for this season, he would be third here in Cincinnati. So I would lean against it. I'd be surprised if he came back, but anything.
I'd be surprised, but I also wouldn't be surprised if he comes back. But I'm leaning more toward he's probably gone. Tyrone here, glad he asked this question because I was listening to Moving the Chains last night at work. Or moving the sticks, sorry, last night at work. He said, do y'all think we're taking a wide receiver in the first or second round? Bucky Brooks had the Bengals taking a wide receiver in the first round, which I kind of caught me off guard. Like, really? I don't know how I didn't pay attention to everything, how the draft went. Honestly, I'd be kind of surprised. I really do think if we don't get a right tackle free agent, it's going to be a right tackle, interior lineman, or cornerback. That's where the three positions that I think they're probably going to take in the first round. What do you think?
Yeah. I could see a receiver because I think I don't think T. Higgins is going to sign an extension.
Yeah.
I just really don't. So I think you're kind of drafting for the future. You always want to have this set of weapons that's available for Joe Burrow, and Jamar Chase is not going to be cheap. He's going to sign a massive extension that will probably make him the NFL's highest paid wide receiver. You're going to need to get some sort of cost controlled asset alongside him that can kind of help offset his huge salary. I agree that I think there are only a few positions really that the Bengals will consider with that first round pick. Bengals are good about sticking to the premium positions, which is something I've always appreciated that they do. They're not generally using first round picks on linebackers or other positions that aren't that valuable. I don't think they're not going to take a quarterback in the first round. I don't think they're going to take an edge rusher in the first round.
I think a running back.
No. So among the premium positions, that kind of leaves receiver, corner, that's in right tackle. Maybe they could add a defensive tackle. That'd pretty much be the only other position I think that they would consider with that first round pick. I would not be surprised if it's a receiver. I think this draft upcoming has a lot of receiver talent.
That is true. It does have a lot. Yes, that is true. So.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, I would not be surprised if they used a high, maybe not first, but second round pick, at least something in the first couple of days. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Trust me, I am no draft expert. My buddy Dale from Bengals and Brewers, he's the draft expert. I like picking his brain. And Mike here says, Seven Draft has them taking the wide receiver from LSU, and I think that's who Bucky Brooks had them taking. I can't his name.
I think it's Malik Neighbors, I believe.
Yes, that's it. Yeah. So I mean, now that you're saying that you're kind of talking me into okay, I guess I could see it because I don't know if they're going to bring T. Higgins back or not. I hope so. We'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Well, because it's hard. It's also it's getting harder and harder to find receivers in free agency too. Where at least the elite guys, you're seeing it this offseason that T is going to get the franchise tag. I would be surprised if the Colts don't franchise Michael Pittman Jr. I'd be surprised if I don't know if the Bucs will franchise Mike Evans, but I'd be surprised if he doesn't get re-signed.
Right.
These top end guys are just not going to be there on the market when the free agency actually opens. So if you want to have a chance at another elite wide receiver alongside Jamar for the long term, your best option of doing that is early in the draft.
Right, exactly. Now, remember I told you before the show started, I kind of kicked something down here. My screen went out.
Yes.
I thought it just happened again.
Oh, no.
I know. I can't see anything. So if you guys got comments or anything, my screen is completely blank, which is really hard to do a live show when your screen is blank. So maybe I'll hopefully get my my lovely assistant down here to help me if she's actually listening. Anyway, so what do you guys have coming up on your podcast here soon?
I can still see the comments. I can read a couple.
Go for it, man. If you got some, let me try
to
get
we've got Robert who's asking, are we talking about keeping Joe Mixon next year? I would say no chance that Joe Mixon comes back next year. That's just me. I think that he would have to be willing to take another pay cut like he did last year. And I just think at this stage of Joe Mixon's career and being a veteran player who's made a lot of money already, probably isn't going to be willing to do that. I don't think the Bengals are going to keep him in his cap hit that he has. I think they're excited about Chase Brown, and I think they'll probably try and sign a veteran free agent. There's guys like Zach Moss and out there who I think could be a really good compliment. Okay. So that's the way I think they'll go at running back. I don't think it'll be Mixon.
Figure it out. All right, thanks. Yeah, I still can't see anything.
No worries.
I keep talking about I appreciate you. Keep talking to the comments. Yeah, let me try to move something here.
For sure. Let's see what else we've got here. Yeah, I don't know. I think that Chase Brown showed enough during this season that I don't know that he'll be the number one running back next year. I don't know that he's shown enough to do that, but man, you've got to love what he did against the Colts. I mean, hitting 22 plus miles per hour on that touchdown pass. That's the screen that went for that long touchdown. I believe it was the second fastest speed all year in the NFL behind DK Metcalf, I want to say. Incredibly impressive athletic performance. And I think if you can get that next season, pair him with someone like a Zach Moss, and I don't think Derrick Henry's coming to Cincinnati anytime soon, but another kind of power back, I think that could make sense. See, Malik from LSU is not dropping to number 18. That could be right. Yeah. Do you think they franchise tag T and trade him? I don't think that they'll trade T Higgins. No, I do think they will franchise tag him. it's too affordable not to. I think the franchise tag for receivers is only $21 million. We just talked about that Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, these guys are going to be making 30, maybe 35 million. We don't know what that kind of high end ceiling is going to be. You get a guy like T. Higgins who could be a wide receiver one on a ton of different teams. You're going to get him at a $21 million price tag. I think for some teams that wouldn't make sense to hold a guy for 1 year. For a Bengals team who's going to try and win the Super Bowl next year, I don't think there's any way you could not take that deal. Trading him, I don't think it'll happen unless they get absolutely blown away. I'd be very surprised, and I'm not sure that what team would do that. I'm not sure that a team is going to say, "Hey, we'll give you the 12th overall pick for 1 year of a guy's rights." I don't see that happening. Let's see what else we got here. Chase Brown is going to be a stud. Very well could be. He very well could be. I think he showed a lot in that first year that I think it's worth being excited about him. Running back who can pass block and pick up blitzes. I think that'd be a good idea. I've talked about it on my show with Jay that I think we've all seen enough of Travion Williams. I know he can do a little bit in the pass blocking and as a special teamer, but seeing him out there as an actual running back, I think we've all seen enough. Drew Sample, I think, did a actually good job as becoming the de facto Bengals third down running back. Again, I'm not sure if that's what you want to see going into 2024. I wouldn't be surprised if they try and find a guy who can do that. Thank you. Also work with Chase Brown, right? Chase Brown is not exactly a finished product. I think there are ways throughout the offseason to say, hey, we can work with this is a skill we want you to get. If you want to be a third down running back, you kind of need to work on this. We've seen plenty of running backs get better at pass protection coming into their second year. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's something he's able to do.
All right, figured it out. I kicked something and unplugged my computer.
Oh, you're all right. You're all set to go.
Yeah. You are a professional. I appreciate you coming on and doing that for me.
All good, man. All good.
So what were we discussing on my show?
So we're discussing whether Chase Brown could maybe be the starting running back for the Bengals next year. And I don't know. I think he probably could. Talking specifically about whether he can be a good enough pass blocker. And just kind of mentioning that there have been backs in the past who have gotten better specifically at that one skill. And I wouldn't write off Chase Brown as a bad pass blocker just because he maybe struggled during his rookie year with that, because a lot of running backs struggle with that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's part of me that, and this is, I hate comparing, it's not a comparison, but I think the same type of back is Christian McCaffrey. I think he's built the same way, taking passes out that they can. I'm not saying he's going to be Christian McCaffrey, but he's that type where we could use him in that same direction. We have to be as effective as Christian McCaffrey. I don't know, but that's how I see it, especially as fast as he ran 22 miles an hour. I mean, you can't beat that.
You know who he reminds me of a little bit? Matt Forte, the old Bears running back. Really good pass catcher, but kind of a stockier guy. Reminds me a lot of him. And Matt Forte had a very long, productive NFL career. So if he could come anywhere close to that, I think Bengals would be very happy.
Exactly. Either way, I do think the Bengals will draft a running back. They will add somebody to that room. I mean, I think it's going to be a late round. But hell, I thought they drafted tight end last year, and they didn't do that. So
yeah. The one guy I threw out that I keep coming back to as a free agent is Zach Moss from the Colts, who I think did an excellent job filling in when Jonathan Taylor was hurt for a lot of this year. Led the league in a lot of different metrics that you want to look at for running backs, like yards after contact and stuff like that. I think he'd be, depending on the price, if the Bengals could get him as kind of that number 2 power back option to go along with Chase Brown, he's a guy I'm kind of circling for the Bengals.
Kinsley, she says this all the time. She loves Brock Bowers. She's always tweeting this out to me. But if Brock Bowers gets to 12 or later, the Bengals have to move up to draft him. I love you. I don't see them moving up to going to get him. They didn't draft a tight end last year. I mean, I would like it, but I don't see it happening. What's your thoughts?
Well, I definitely don't see the Bengals trading up in any capacity. It's just not something they do, and it's really not smart. If you look at the history of NFL draft trades, it's really not smart to trade up unless you're going for a franchise quarterback. Right. To do it for a tight end, I don't think would be a wise move. Brock Bowers is obviously a good player. Like I said, I'm not a huge college football guy, but I am aware of who Brock Bowers is. I question the positional value. We saw the Atlanta Falcons take Kyle Pitts 4th overall a few years back. You have to basically become the best tight end in the league at that point to have it to deliver the sort of return on investment that would make it worthwhile at that point. So I'd be kind of surprised if they went in that route. I'm a big Tanner Hudson guy. I've been,
me too.
I really liked what I saw from him, and I think the Bengals should re-sign him. And you don't have to say, hey, he's going to be our next, like, George Kittle or Mark Andrews, but you could say, hey, we're gonna have him. We're going to bring back a Drew Sample who can play a role. And then we're going to go in the 3rd or 4th round and we're going to take one of these tight end prospects who is just like an athletic freak. Mm-hmm. And that's how we're going to build our tight end room. That was the way I thought they should have done it last year, and they didn't. I hope they kind of take a different approach this year.
Yeah, I think, Tanner Hudson he's an exclusive rights free agent. So
Tanner Hudson, no, he is a full unrejected free agent. He is. He's been in the league longer than you might think. He's played for other teams, and
how is he not? And Browning is. How does that work?
It's all based on the number of games you play in a year. So I'd have to go back and look at it. I want to say if you play 6 games in a season, then you get what is called a credited or accrued season. And that's what goes towards becoming a free agent. So once you get 3 credited NFL seasons, you would be a restricted free agent, even if your contract was over. That's what we see, restricted free agents. And then exclusive rights free agents are even below that. So they don't even, I think it's probably 1 or 2 accrued seasons. Yeah.
Well, I would be surprised. I think it's Tanner Hudson's best year. I'd be surprised if he doesn't want to come back here and catch passes from Joe Burrow. But I said that too. Have Drew Sample and him as your starting point for your tight end, and go get somebody to add to that room. Like I said, Brock Bowers would be awesome. I would be all for it. I don't actually think it's going to happen. The other thing is, somebody brought up my show is Dustin Schultz. I think he was he's with the Packers this year, or I think that's who it was. That might be a guy in free agency they could sign.
Oh, Dalton Schultz.
Thank you.
Yeah, he was with the Texans. Yeah, so he played for the Cowboys for a long time. There was rumors that he was going to go to the Packers, but then he ended up signing a 1-year deal with the Texans. He was very productive. He is the clear number 1 free agent tight end of the market, so I think he'll have a lot of options. There are just not a lot of other guys. I did our free agent rankings. Here's how poor the free agent rankings are for tight end. I had Irv Smith on the list. Okay, he made the list. It's a dire set of free agent tight ends. So I think Dalton Schultz will probably be out of the Bengals price range.
Yeah, and they don't, like I said, they didn't draft one last year. Maybe they'll draft one this year. Anyway, Dallas, you've been on for 53 minutes. You hosted the show for at least a minute by yourself. I appreciate you. I got to just keep my feet back here so I quit kicking wires out. But do me a favor and plug some stuff before I let you go.
Absolutely, yeah. Find me on X on Dallas D. Robinson. Come to Pro Football Network. Read all of our stuff. I'm actually heading out to the Super Bowl this year, so I'm going to have a ton of coverage from Vegas.
How big of a suitcase you got? Can you fit me in there?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if we can sneak you in. We'll see. We'll see how that works. But yeah, so we'll be out there with tons of coverage. I think we'll be maybe at the Combine this year, so we'll have some coverage from there. Obviously, Jay is doing tons of Bengals coverage that's never going to end. And then our Bengals podcast every Tuesday, PFN Bengals podcast. I know you guys love listening to Jeff, and so come check us out too. And we'll talk about a lot of the same stuff throughout the offseason, I think, as the draft and free agency comes. So again, Jeff, thanks for having me on the show today, and sure we'll be back on again. Yeah, absolutely. And make sure you send those draft guys my way too. I will. I gotta get them on there because Jay's gonna be on. I think next Tuesday Jay's gonna be on. So okay, awesome. Yeah,
so I like him. We got you, and we got Jay. We got you. Then the lesser of the two. No, I'm just kidding. I like Jay.
I think the lesser is the one who's on right now. For sure. I think we know that.
I like you both. I think you both are awesome. Dallas, I appreciate it, man, and we'll talk again soon.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
See ya. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Sorry for the messing up with the screen. I gotta keep my feet down there. Anyway, thanks for watching. So everybody who's watching on ZTV, YouTube, I have 2,495 subscribers. Facebook 3,451. X 3,955. Facebook and X, it's a race to see who gets to 4,000. YouTube, it's a race to get to see who gets to 3,000. You can follow me on all those, along with Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and my podcast. If you want to listen to it again, or if you missed any of it, you just want to listen to it while you're at work or in the car or whatever. It's on BeanPod, Apple iTunes, Spotify, Google, Stitcher Play, pretty much wherever you get your podcasts. Please make sure you rate, like, and review. Leave a 5-star review and a comment so more Cincinnati fans can find my podcast. Again, this Saturday, we are going to be at Midwest Best Barbecue shooting a commercial. And if you've never had Midwest Best, I suggest you check it out.
Midwest Best, baby. They got Uno wings. They got G-Funk. They got CTB wings. They got delicious chili. Dude, it is awesome. Go check out Midwest Best.
They are all delicious. I can't figure out which one is my favorite. G-Funk, Uno Wings, CTB. They got the Grippo wings. The chili is good. The ribs are good. Oh, I can't wait till Saturday. I'm going to go out there and grub. It's going to be a great time. So come out there and you guys can enjoy, like I said, come out there. You guys can make a commercial with us. It'll be fun. Anyway, other than that, you guys have a wonderful day. I think Joe Farsing is going to be on tomorrow. He was going to be on today, and then he had to cancel. And luckily, Dallas was able to jump on with me. Friday, I got Draft Dale. That's what I'm calling him, Draft Dale. Because BSG trying to think of a name for Dale Jeremiah, Dale Kuiper, Dale. I'm like, just call him Draft Dale. So I'm calling him Draft Dale. Him and I think Centauri are putting together a draft guide, which I can't wait to see. These guys are two of my friends, and they know more about the draft than I'll ever know. So those are my two go-to guys. Love you. I'll try to get Centauri on again, but he's working so much. He's been kind of busy. By the way, check out Rally. If you guys have not seen Rally around the Natty last night, they had my boy Corey Dillon on. So it was a great episode. Make sure you check that out. And other than that, you guys have a wonderful day. I'll see you tomorrow. And that's just sports, baby. Throw it up. See ya!